In this video, I'll look at animating the focal length and field of view here in a camera. I'm going to take this second camera, camera 2, in my scene, and animate a small zoom, just focusing in on the bus stop a little bit more. A lot of times what we'll see is, rather than the camera being completely still, especially while something is animating, we add a little bit of drift or zoom into it, just to bring the scene to life and point the viewer's eye at exactly what we want them to see. I'll select my camera first, because it looks like I've deselected it and picked part of the building, by dropping down on the viewport label where it says Camera 2 and choosing Select Camera. Right now I have a 35mm focal length, and I'm going to animate up ever so slightly over maybe 4 seconds. I'll give myself some more time by clicking on the Time Configuration dialog on the bottom right on the screen. We'll run at a custom frame rate of 24. This is the frame rate of film, and it's also a slower frame rate and hence less frames to render when you're rendering your work. I'll put the frame count up, and let's try 120 here, giving us 5 seconds of footage. We can have cameras operate in the same 5 seconds of footage if we want, or in sequence with more time if we need. Really depends on what you're doing. I'll click OK, and now I'm going to key this camera. For animation of cameras, auto key is terrific. What this means is by pressing N, I see the red auto key border on the viewport, and any change I make after frame 0 on anything is automatically keyframed and interpolated. What I'll do then is slide the time slider over, maybe to frame 96, a nice 4-second zoom. And now when I change the lens here, for example, going from a 35 to a 45, I feel a little bit closer. That is, the camera zoom has narrowed the field of view and brought the bus stop in a little bit, flattening out the distance. I've got small red brackets on the spinners next to those parameters, telling me they've been animated. I'll turn off auto key, and down here on the timeline I can see I've got keyframes. They're black because they represent a parameter that is not a translation, move, rotate, or scale, for example. I'll test this and see how it behaves, clicking the play animation button on the bottom right. What we can see here is it's having a little trouble displaying. It looks okay, but it's kind of jumpy. To remedy this and see a preview of the movie at true speed in an external player such as Windows Media or QuickTime, I'll click on the plus next to the viewport label and choose Create Preview and Create Animated Sequence File. It's a preview image screen capturing every frame in here and stitching them together. I'll hit that button, and I'm going to run this at half my render size, 50% at 640 by 360. I'll run a custom range of frames, 0 to 96 here, because that's the length of my animation, and frames per second, 24. I can also decide if I have other objects on here, what I'm showing. These are okay for now, as I really just have geometry. I can choose a rendering level if I'd like, in this case, realistic, and hit Create. It's going to make an AVI, or a custom file type, using whatever the default codec is from that camera. We can see the preview start in, and in just a minute I'll have my movie to look at. My movie is done, and I'm looping it here in the Windows Media Player that opened automatically. It's running at half size, and we're seeing a little bit of jitter just because of the quality of the display, but it looks pretty good. The animation starts smoothly, zooms in, and slows down to a stop, giving the viewer a chance to see where we are. It's a great way to set the stage, doing a slow push in to show off some detail that's really a signature element. It's important to preview out your work to make sure your animation is working at the right speed. Once it's played several times through, looping in an external player, it's cached to RAM, and you can be assured that you're seeing it correctly. If you need to change things around a little bit, you can go to the curve editor and see how those keys are behaving. I'll click on the mini curve editor button on the bottom left in the view, and there's a curve editor, with the motion of that camera expressed as a curve. In this case, since I have the camera selected, here's my object, free camera, which I'll open up, and the field of view is highlighted in blue, showing it's animated. This graph then represents the animation. There's the keyframe at 0, and down here is the keyframe at 96. It looks pretty good. It's nice and smooth at the top, eases in, smooths at the bottom. If you'd like to change it, you can pick your keys, for example, and change them to auto or spline, for example, which is really what's going on here. You can also try things like slow, slowing down that motion. You can pick handles and set them individually. If you'd like, you can pick the handle and pull it out a little more, slowing down that motion in the beginning. It's up to you how you'd like to play with this, but the general rule is to take those camera moves and slow them down. There have been enough movies out there with whipping cameras, handheld cameras, and audiences barfing about halfway through. So, give it enough frames to take the audience where you want them to see, give them a chance to see it, and don't shake it. Let them see it. In the next video, we'll look at animating a crane running up the side of the building with another camera. And finally, we'll get into some rendering and even some post effects to really make this scene pop.